Eric Favot. Eric Favot, Bikes and Beyond.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Damn. Going right into it.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
I want to hear. I want to hear about Chase Gwen and growing up in Windsor bike riding. Did you start on a BMX or mountain bike?
Rollerblades.
Okay.
Yeah. Started at a old wooden skate park in a town, Amherstburg, Ontario. And I had a pair of like rollerblades with the grind plates, and that got me in the skate park 100%. Yeah.
Dope. Was it the two wheels, like front wheel, back wheel, and then the middle wheels were taken out? The
two middle wheels were smaller, but it had the grind plates. And like, okay. yeah. Rosie's Streets was, it was like legit X Games rollerblader dudes. Like, we're sponsored by this brand.
Sick. Yeah. I was actually into rollerblading as well when I was in grade 7. We'd go to the indoor skate park and do 720 flyouts.
There you
go in the half pipe and just do like slides across the whole thing.
Yeah.
But like I had decent rollerblades, but I think they were just ghetto. I took the middle wheels out so I could just slide in the middle.
Some like Bauer hockey rollerblades.
Well, at first that's what it was, but then I got like somehow I came up on these like trick blades. They were like actual trick rollerblades, and they were sick.
Nice.
Yeah, got pretty into them.
Yeah, so rollerblading wasn't very long, but that's like what got me into a skate park.
Right. That's what opened the door.
Yeah, and then 1999. So my uncle actually opened a bike shop in Windsor for like a very like short time period, but it was called Adrenaline Cycle, and he had an account with Haro Bikes. So he had Haro mountain bikes and like Haro BMX. I got my first Haro Back Trail X1 candy apple green from my uncle's bike shop.
Whoa.
Yeah. Ryan Nyquist signature.
What year was that?
Like 99. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Throwback.
And I remember getting it. Had like caliper front brakes and like 990 like back brakes, whatever. I think it came with a gyro, like full gyro setup, all that, like just low end stuff. But I remember like riding and pulling the front brake, like the like caliper style, and like I couldn't do an endo, like because the brake wasn't good enough. So I had my uncle weld V-brake mounts to my fork so I could do an endo.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were the other brakes?
This is like I was like brand new to it. I didn't realize that like you could do an endo with any brake. You just have to use more body than brake. But I just thought you ride fast and hit the brakes. I got V-brake.
Just flew over the bars a few times, or what?
Learned some endos, and like it's actually crazy to think about like the early days, because it was like so long ago. Like I remember learning like a pull-up rolling bar spin. So the back tire it wasn't like a hot bar. It was like a pull-up bar. And
with your foot on the peg at first?
No, both on the pedals. Both on the pedals. Just the high Dave Mira seat, and you just pull up, pinch the seat, and like chuck the bees.
I did the same on my mountain bike. That was like the first.
I think everybody at some point did that, but
no hand drop, like just totally like.
Yeah. I can think back to
slap them down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can think back to like learning like bunny hops and like bunny hopping up a curb and then pull up bar down. Like no Sick. Like, and then man, I had a crew of like people at high school. We would like go out at lunch break and like ride this spot at my high school. There was like a bank, and yeah, man, it's just literally been an addiction ever since. But like back to the pull-up bars, like 40-pound bike, 35-pound bike. I remember like learning how to hop on like a city bus bench, and like that was a pretty high hop when you're first getting into it. And
For sure.
Like taking it up. I remember like pretty quick into getting started, I could hop up a picnic table. And I remember like hopping up a picnic table, pull off bar down, like, which I would never do today, ever. Like, no, you couldn't pay me to do that.
I'm sure you'd rather just do the actual pop bar spin, which is much harder.
Yeah. And the seats are way lower now. I don't even know if a pull-up bar, like, couldn't tell you the last time I tried that one.
That's funny. I totally forgot about that stage, but I was pretty into that stage too, like lifting up the front end and doing bar spins on the mountain bike. And I felt like I had bar spins. Like I think I remember at that time I was like, I can bar spin.
Yeah. So, and like back to like the rollerblading thing. So, when I first got started, like my parents were divorced. So my dad lived in like a small town, Amherstburg, Ontario, and my mom and my stepdad lived in Windsor. So Windsor was like kind of like the street dogs, like, you know, sprocket stalls and like crank flips and grinding and that stuff. And I had a little bit of influence by these guys because, like, you know, when you're out cruising the streets, you'd see this older generation of guys riding, and they're all pretty like some pretty cool dudes, like definitely some characters, and you know, you get that influence. And then my hometown, that's where the magic like happened, in the sense of like, you know, there was an older generation of like kind of like more park style riders, and we had like this green wooden skate park, and the town just like gave the kids plywood, and like they would build something. Maybe there was more to it than that. I can't fully understand. I remember helping like the older guys, like, you know, get screws and whatever. But yeah, that's where like the Fufanoos and the manuals and like bar to tap and like all that kind of stuff came from, like, you know, being the younger Grom with the older generation. And like, yeah, man, highly looked up to those guys.
Straight to the skate park first thing, or was there was no dirt jump stage for you first?
No, like Windsor, we had like this dirt jump spot called Seven Hills, and there was like definitely some, just like, it's so funny, like I rode through there a couple years ago, and like, so just a bunch of illegal dirt jumps, like, you know, they'd get plowed down and build them back. But I remember thinking these things were huge, and they were like doubles, right? So we had like, if you like, and like, you know, looking back on it, like they were the biggest jumps ever, right? But the truth is, they were like 3 foot lips, with like maybe like a 10-foot gap. And I mean, you know, at some point maybe we had like a little rhythm. It was always different, but like, yeah, that was definitely neat to, like, you know, have a couple of those memories of just like being in the bush.
Yeah.
I have one buddy, my friend Dom, and like, he's sick.
Watch bro.
No.
Oh, different Dom?
No, you're getting that mixed up.
Oh.
But he was like a lot younger than me, and I remember like bringing him to this Seven Hills spot, and like he cut his shin. Like we were riding together.
Metal pedals
for sure, like really bad. And like, I should have like probably looked after him, and we talk about it now and we kind of like laugh, but I was like, sorry dude, like you got to figure this out. I'm having so much fun. And like sent him home, like a couple days later, like 20 stitches in his like shin or something. Like, who knows? I don't remember what, but like, yeah, that was the Seven Hills dirt jumps.
Damn.
Some good times over there, yeah.
The local dirt jump spot, it's important. We had Devil's Drop. I don't know if you ever heard about it, but that's where like Zach Jarvis would go to.
Is that the HL on Landing dirt jump?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the famous spot for everyone around here. But I remember the big jump was like a 15-foot gap. And back then, like 15-foot gap looked impossibly big, you know. And when someone would come around and, oh yeah, he hits Devils, like the big jump was called Devils. It was like, whoa, he must be good. Like he cleared 15 feet. And then Zach Jarvis at that time was like kind of like one of the hometown heroes. So he would show up to Devil's Drop and 360 the jumps, and like no one could believe that like someone was 360ing the jumps.
So awesome.
Which is pretty cool to think about.
Yeah, that's great. Legend.
But yeah, and then so you guys rode some dirt, but it was more like park based, more riding skate parks.
Yeah, I think for me, like I had these older guys, not much older, so it was like Ollie, Pat, and then like they had a couple buddies that would show up, and then like one of my like really good friends at the time, Anthony, was like, this guy was so dialed on a BMX. Like we would like watch like the old like props or Road Fools or like whatever, right? And like he was doing like 3 tables and like 3 turn downs over like a spine, and like he could flare before me. He could do everything before me. And it was like everyone has to have that like motivator, right? So yeah, that was kind of, I feel like, you know, you ride with those guys and it's like kind of like a competition of like, and I was never good, dude. I was not a good, I don't think I was that talented like in those younger years. I think like I had like, you know, I could backflip, I could tail whip, I could bar spin, but like I couldn't make anything really look good. I just loved BMX.
Like some of your friends were
way
like
better.
naturally more talented
Way
riders,
better, 100%.
but just maybe didn't ended up quitting.
Yeah,
along
like
the line.
yeah, you know, people grow up, get their driver's license, get new hobbies, this, that. So, you know, things happen, right?
Exactly.
And then I also like moved away to Toronto, right? So I didn't really like maybe ride with those guys anymore, kind of thing. Like people go their separate ways, right? So
How often is it that the person who's the most talented at something ends up actually doing that? Like how many, I remember being younger and like there was one guy in particular who was so good at everything. He could have been a pro snowboarder. He could have been a pro bike rider, skateboarder. He was just amazing at everything, but like he didn't pursue any of it. You know, he got like a normal job.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that some people have to put in so much time and work, and like others, it kind of comes naturally to me or naturally to them. Sorry.
Yeah. And then those people, it's almost like they can't appreciate it as much because it's maybe
like
too easy.
thinking back to the joyride days about like, you know, a few people that just like showed up and just like, you know, 2 weeks later they're double trucking the Red Bull jump or like whatever.
Bob
like,
Lamond.
He's a good example.
Yeah.
He was sick.
He was
so good. That wasn't actually who I was thinking of off the cuff, but he's a great example, dude. Like he was insanely talented, like on another level, like quick,
for sure.
faster than anybody.
I think I can relate to you more where I felt like I didn't have the natural ability, but I really loved it and I could picture myself being good. I knew that if I put the work in, I could get that good. Like I could picture myself being like pretty good, but I had to put the work in to get there.
Dude, I got to watch it, man. Like I got to watch you, Michael doing work gray.
Oh God. Wow. That's a throwback.
Right? Like, man.
Oh man.
Like just putting in shifts, like shift work on like, you know, I remember those days.
Right.
Like a lot of hours into just like little things. Like I remember when like, you know, the nose wheelie started to be a thing, or like, you know, getting to those levels. And I remember you like just like putting in time to make sure that you could get that.
Right. I feel like when I was younger in the joyride days when we were going there every day to get like that was our life, I feel like I was good at not caring what people thought. I could go in the park and just like practice one little trick, and if there was really good riders there, I didn't care what they thought of me. I would just like put myself out there, you know, like look like a beginner trying this new trick. But I didn't have that urge as much to be like, okay, well, I have to make sure that I show them that I have all these other tricks and then go learn the trick. I kind of just like would just go and try tricks, and I don't care if people think I'm shit. Like I'm learning this trick.
Well,
right
you
now.
know what I can think of too is like, and like we can move on from this subject, but I think about like you know, I spent a lot of time at Joyride, obviously, and there's the people that go to Joyride to film the clip, and like they can't even do the trick yet, but they're filming the clip. And then there's the people that, you know, learn it, put in like, you know, 10 hours and then film the clip. And you were always that guy. I know you were. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing worse than being the guy that gets asked to film your buddy's clip when you know that they can't do it or they haven't tried it. Like one thing you notice when you ride with like the Haro team or something is that like they always try one before filming, where like when you're younger, you think, oh, just film this and then I'll commit to it when you film me.
Yeah, because there is an advantage of the adrenaline you get with like a video camera on. But I also think it's kind of like, you know, please don't ask me to spend, you know, 3 hours filming something I know you're not going to film. But hey, when those things actually got done, like, you know, it would have been worth it. But.
I just see it as, okay, I think I need the camera to commit to this, but once I commit to this, there's 3 more things down the road that I have to commit to. So that person who's filming me is going to be there for me learning all those steps, where if I just man up and try this without the camera, okay, get it out of the system. Now I'm at that, I'm like working on that, but I might have even more things to work on to get that combo. So to think that, oh, if I just commit to it, it's going to work.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the thought I feel like that happens for a lot of people. It's like, oh, just film me and then I'll commit to it and it'll work. But then all of a sudden you realize that it's not that easy. There's this whole learning process, this puzzle figuring out. And if you just did that alone, you know, got the scary try out of your system and just tried that 100 times alone, then.
Yeah, but I feel like the people with that mindset are the 1%. And like, you know, I don't know.
I feel like it's a skill that's developed. Like for me, I used to do that too. I used to say, oh, film me and I'll just commit to it. But then I realized I was wasting people's time. And anyways, that's just, but a lot of people, this is the kind of stuff I feel like people like to hear about because it's a relatable thought.
Well,
this is something that,
like, I'm going to totally shift the gear of the conversation, but, we were talking about like naturally talented versus, like the kind of people that have to put in work. And, like, man, I don't think I was ever like that great at riding BMX, but I loved it. Like, I definitely, like, in my opinion, I remember playing like Dave Mira's freestyle BMX and like, you know, PS1, like, you know, and like, you know, doing like a flip whip. And I remember like when I worked at Joyride, like having nobody there, setting that, like nobody riding, like business was closed, like, you know, doing one at like a little secret employee session or something like that in the early days, setting like up a camera and just trying flip whips over the resi. And like, dude, I don't know if you remember the video, but like I posted like a video of me landing like a flip whip on the Joyride resi. And like, to me, that was a lot of work. But it's funny because like I was always like, I would just send it and know there was no chance I was ever gonna land it. And then sometimes it would work, right? But to kind of backtrack to what I was saying, like, yeah, the people that put in the hard work, like that's such a transferable skill. Like, it's so insane, right?
well, yeah, I guess that's the thing for the people who are super talented. If it's easy to do something, you didn't learn the work ethic aspect of it, where I think is what you're saying, where like people who have to work really hard to learn a trick or to be good on a bike, they can take that work ethic and apply it to anything, and it's very useful.
Yeah, like, you know, the countless hours of learning how to balance a hang five or doing like a bar catch bar. Like, you know, the first bar spin's pretty easy, but like, you know, just like learning like different things.
Even
right?
the first
like,
bar spin, how long?
The first bar spin was pretty or the first tail whip, I think, remember being like a little way more hard than the bar spin.
That might be the longest trick to learn.
Like at my,
like learning just the tail whip, that was like one of the biggest processes, I would say.
It's crazy. Yeah, like my current job now, like when I got the position, you know, I wanted to, you know, treat it like kind of BMX and like put in that extra effort and all of that. And, you know, like like completely different, but putting the same amount of time into learning and becoming good at something is, it's pretty neat, man.
I think it's really cool to transfer it into an entrepreneurial venture because
there you go.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you guys started a bike shop. I mean, you can put it into a job too, but if it's like an actual business that you start, it's pretty cool because just like BMX, it's created, like you created that trick. That trick didn't happen unless you decided to do it. Just like a business, it doesn't happen unless you decide to do it. But then that creativity, it almost makes it more fun than a normal job. When it's like you starting it, there's no one laying out kind of like a path for it. You just do it all yourself. There's something fun about it.
Yeah.
And creative. Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it does. It's
Well,
a nice.
I mean, you have clearly started your own, like, entrepreneurship, and yeah, the hard work that you put into the BMX is, transferred into that now, and it's pretty sweet to see what you have going.
Thanks. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Lucky that business is working out.
Mm-hmm.
Some people put a lifetime into something and it just doesn't work out, and that's very common. And then, but those same people could start something different and it might just take off. I feel like that's kind of how I feel about myself with BMX. Like I put my life into it and I did accomplish some things, but I feel like I never quite got to where I wanted to, even though I put my life into it. And then I started business and it just kind of started working from the start.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm just going to ride this wave. And I feel like it's kind of maybe how some people would feel who get into BMX and just like get sponsors and start winning contests and kind of it all just kind of works out for them to be like that dude.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not most people. It's the opposite. They put their life into BMX and they just can't find a route that works, getting sponsors and winning contests. Like it just doesn't work out. It's fucking hard.
I think I mean, it's so funny, man, like thinking about like, when you're a kid, like, I want to get sponsored or like that whole like mindset. Like, I think it's so important to just like love it. And I mean, like living in Canada, like nobody's getting sponsored over here. And if you are, like, it's not like the most lucrative thing. Like, sweet, I got a free t-shirt, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to work a full-time job and like, but I'm getting free t-shirts. So like, we're pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's, it's kind of a weird thing.
The cool thing about it is that now that we're older, you see who's in it because they love it.
Yeah.
And all the dudes are still in it because everyone that was doing it, like all of our buddies, they all love doing it. Like,
yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about the generations, right? Like, you weren't quite in, like, obviously we've spent so much time together and done like probably the coolest shit that I've ever, like, you've done some cool shit in your day, but like all my cool shit, like a lot of it, man, you were by my side. Like, it's like, crazy to think back.
Yeah, for people who don't know, we did road trips together,
Yeah.
California adventures.
Yeah. I
Lots of cool stuff.
I remember, like kind of a random story, but I remember like driving to Joplin, Missouri by myself and going to the Jomo Pro contest, like to compete. This probably was like 2011 or something like that. And I remember like leaving the contest weekend, and I know you remember this, and like I remember calling you, and like I'm leaving the hotel, and I was just like, hey, like, how you doing? Whatever. I don't even remember why I called you. And you're like, man, like, you should come out here. You're like halfway here. And I was like, yeah, okay, like, sure. And like, I remember like getting on the highway and driving the wrong way. Like, I was not going home. And I think I stayed with you that time for like 3 months. Do you remember that?
Straight to California.
Riverside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, such a good trip.
I remember the roommates that you had at the time.
Yeah. Frank or
Ipe.
Yeah.
Dude.
The one dude just would like stay up till like 4 a.m. and just like DJ.
Yeah. That's so
They were
funny.
trippy. That's sick though. For people who don't know, Toronto to Jomo Pro to Joplin, Missouri is what, like 2,000 kilometers maybe?
No.
1,500?
No. I don't, you know what? I don't really know, but like, trips like that, like, my family lived in Windsor. So when I'd leave Toronto, it's like, Toronto to Windsor, have dinner or like, stay the night. And then, you could do Windsor to Chicago in, pretty quick timing and then keep going. So it was like, it wasn't that crazy of a drive from down there.
But then Joplin to Riverside.
Yeah, that was a crazy drive. Like, I remember that drive. Like, I remember getting like, yeah, driving through like Oklahoma, Arizona, like Route 66.
Takes forever.
I remember like the longest drive day was like 14 hours. It was like the first day, like driving 14 hours, stopping like somewhere near the Grand Canyon. I remember sleeping on the side of the highway. There was all kinds of cars lined up on the side of the highway. And I just like, pillow over the center console and just like shut her down at like whatever time in the middle of the night. And like the next morning waking up and like my car is like completely steamed. Like, like you can't even see, there's like a cloud of like just sweat, 'cause you're in that like desert climate. And like, I remember like getting out of the vehicle, like figuring out what time it was. And it was like, I slept till like 1 p.m. on the side of the highway.
No way.
Yeah, dude, there were no more cars, like, because there was a bunch of trucks parked, right? So I just like parked with them, and yeah, probably
wow,
great sleep.
You must have needed the sleep.
100%.
Driving takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it sucks. Like living back in Windsor, like it's very difficult to, make the trip even up to see you. Like, yesterday was over 5 hours to get up here when you hit construction and this and that. And like, I work typically like 6 days a week, and I get, 1 day a week off at my job. So like, I always want to be refreshed for Monday. So yeah, it's just like 8 years of just being full focus. And like, yeah, I've made trips. I've seen come up here, done some cool stuff, but like nothing like what like I used to do. What I
Me neither, though. I don't know about you, but I feel like I got burnt out on driving. Like I drove across the country back and forth probably at least 5 times over my life. Maybe actually no, like probably like 10 times. Just done so many road trips back in the day. Like we went to Florida. There's just so many big distances that I think I burnt myself out on it because
I think too, like, you own a home. I own a home. We have like bills and lives and animals and, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of like a part of being an adult, and not like, you got to take care of your nest, and
yeah, sledding is the thing that gets me back on the road now because you got to drive so far to do it living here, but not for long. I won't be driving far to do that anymore. But yeah, even that, it just, it's painful when you're like, okay, I got to drive 15 hours.
Dude, I remember moving back to Windsor. I remember doing like a crusher show in Quebec City. It was like a sick one though, dude. Like we had in the middle of a shopping mall. We had a roll in down like an escalator to like whatever crazy ramp. And yeah, I remember doing that. It was like a Labor Day weekend, and I did Quebec City straight to Windsor 1 day drive. Like that was insane. Getting stuck, like, you know what it's like driving down that 401 on a long weekend.
Oh yeah.
Painful.
Yeah.
Painful.
For sure.
Yeah.
The things we do to ride. That's the thing too. Back then, I had nothing to do but ride, or there was nothing I wanted to do.
Yeah, nothing. You probably had stuff you had to do, but there's nothing you want to do other than what you want to do.
Well, you know what's a good feeling that I don't get as much now, and when I do, it's normally for something close by. But back then, I used to just be like, where do I feel like riding?
Yeah,
I feel like riding this park 2 hours away. Fuck it, I'm just gonna drive there and go. And
I feel like going to Shell Park today, or like I feel like going to, thinking about all those like old parks we'd, go rip, go see some buddies in this town, go see some buddies in this town. Like, there's some dirt jumps here. Like, we're gonna, I remember like, I think Guelph had some dirt jumps like way back in the day, and like from Windsor we drive up to Guelph, go hit some dirt jumps, before you set your eye on a prize and you make sure you get there, have a couple buddies.
Yeah, it was fun to just do that, just go and explore. I feel like I don't do that as much now. Probably for a lot of it is for what you were saying, just responsibilities, a lot more going on.
Yeah.
But also just maybe lack of interest as much. Like, I don't get as strong of a craving. Like, I want to go to London and ride the skate park. I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'll just go to my local park.
Yeah. So I think our reasons, like probably are different, like, but also so similar. Like, for me, again, one day off a week, and it's like I gotta maximize. I gotta maximize every hour when I'm not working. Like, after work, I like to make sure I stay busy. I never want to like just sit still, because sitting still I don't think is like my style. You know what I mean? So it's like when I moved back to Windsor, the riding down there obviously is not very good. Like, no good skate parks really. We just got like a new park in my hometown, but it's still nothing compared to what we have up in these necks of the woods. So I found like, in a new career, not the best riding, like still having to just force myself to go out and ride and like do those tricks. And then, trying to think about, okay, well, if riding isn't the thing anymore, like what am I going to put my time into? Right. And, I enrolled in like guitar lessons like once a week to keep me occupied.
Awesome.
And that was like something that like was one day. Like I paid to hang out with this dude that was like a shredder. And that was like, me scheduling my time after work. I'm really big on making sure that, hours are accounted for, and it's not like, I think it's just, I'm really hard on myself probably.
Well, I think some people need an outlet, and I would say you need an outlet. Like, some people might be able to sit on their couch after work and just watch a movie, and that's like their evening. But for you, if you did that, you wouldn't feel good about yourself.
No,
maybe you know what you have to do to feel good about yourself. And
like, I don't like to watch TV if it's daylight out. Like, I have this weird rule in my head that like, there's probably something better you could be doing, so just don't even do it.
And it's addicting. It's once you start watching it, you can like lock into it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get away sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I remember like being a younger kid and like binge watching stuff, but like nothing on TV interests me too much. But I think like, my last year, I've had so much going on in every single direction that, don't got time for that shit.
Damn. And what about wifey doesn't watch TV at all?
She loves herself some TV, yeah.
Hell yeah.
But that's like, she likes to watch like kind of like the reality stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think every girl.
Exactly.
But like, I have no interest in any of that.
Mm-hmm. But do you ever find yourself getting stuck?
No, she did watch like, what's the one where TJ Lavin's the host?
That was like some game show.
Yeah. So she watched that, and like, maybe I caught a few episodes just because like TJ Lavin, like, why, you know what I mean? Like, but I mean,
dude, the editing of those shows is so fucking well done that, like, all those reality shows, if you start watching for a minute, sometimes you can't stop watching, because even though you watch it sometimes and you're like, these people are so fucking dumb,
so funny.
But the entertainment level is so high, and the way they cut it, the way that the drama they create is, I mean, they're so good at what they do.
Commercial break timing, like, it's funny, man. I never had like I just moved, but my old house, I never had like cable TV or any sort of TV, right?
Interesting.
So I went, I don't know how many years, probably like 6 years without like seeing a commercial. Like, and I don't watch sports. I don't watch like anything like that. I have no interest in any of that. But yeah, I remember like thinking like, man, I haven't seen a commercial in so long. Going to someone's house and seeing like a commercial on the TV to me is like the weirdest thing, right? Like,
imagine all that time that opens up.
Like, cause like with like people that watch Netflix, like there's no commercials, right? Like at our old house, I think we just had like a couple subscriptions, like, the Netflix, the Prime, whatever, right? And like, I don't think there's any ads or anything like that. I guess the new commercials are YouTube videos. So I take it back. I watch a ton of commercials.
Or like podcast commercials.
Yeah.
So you
podcast commercials? That's a thing?
Like, those little advertise. Oh, you have, I don't pay for Spotify. I have the free
I don't pay
one.
for Spotify. Yeah. Okay. You get that like Athletic Greens.
Exactly. We're watching the same podcast. But I love that you can fast forward through them.
Dude, that's actually
that is genius.
I lie. I guess I do watch commercials because
But you can always fast forward them on Spotify.
Yeah.
Like that's no one else does that. You have to watch the commercial on most other things.
Yeah.
YouTube, it says skip ad after 5 seconds for some of them.
How many people actually pay for YouTube Premium? Have you ever met someone that paid for YouTube Premium?
No I didn't even know that existed.
Dude, I think it's a thing. I could be wrong. But I think if you like subscribe to YouTube, just like you would Netflix,
I'd be curious to know the price.
You don't have, I couldn't tell you, but like there's no ads or something like that, right? Maybe I'm sure they sneak something in, but like, it's so funny. Like it's been around for a while and I've never known anyone that had YouTube Premium.
Me neither.
And like, I think you can like rent movies on you. Like, it's just, it's not the,
I have seen that.
Yeah. It's not the, I don't know, anybody out there. If you rent YouTube Premium,
we could, we'll let's get a cost analysis on this. I wonder what it is. If it's like $7 a month or if it's like something ridiculous.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Good old YouTube.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So yeah, not much TV for this guy, but grew up on props and all the bike videos, obviously.
Yeah. I remember, the day I got my bike, we'll quick circle back. I got my bike. I think, I can't remember if it was the Haro Back Trail X1 Candy Apple Green.
Nyquist,
Nyquist, yeah.
Shout out to Nyquist.
Said his name on it. Favorite rider. Anyways, I remember getting like a VHS, dude. It was like Miracle Boy and Nyquist, like, popping that in the VHS.
Wow.
Player. Like, again, 99. Like, so.
Where do you even get that at that time? Do you order it?
Man, like, it's so weird. Like, thinking about there was no online ordering or whatever. So, like, a local bike shop in Windsor would, like, maybe they had a 10-pack account at the time, and 10-pack was a props distro. So, like, they would order in, like, I remember getting, like, props issue, like, 29, 35, like, whatever. And, like, me and some buddies, we'd get the props VHS, and, like, we'd split on it, and whoever, like, got the actual props, we would, like, get 2 VCRs set up, and, like, make a legal copy of it. And like the guy who got the original VHS, the other guy got to keep the cover.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, man. And just like wearing those videos out, like all those soundtracks, like they're still playing in my head, I think.
Dude, that's crazy just to think about the fact that we can wake up every day and pretty much watch a video that just came out every single day, a new video. And back then,
you watch the same video.
Back then, I guess you just, okay, what do we watch today?
Like,
pop the VHS back in.
Etnies Forward, dude, on VHS. That was like a big one to have. You watch that, that was like...
It's more like a Bible thing where like a video was like a Bible, where now it's like...
Nowhere Fast, like another like, epic older movie. Yeah, man, there's so many good... I still love watching that era of riding because there's just something about it.
Is this before... like the Aaron Ross, every day I'm hustling?
Oh my gosh, dude. This is like, 7 years before, like 7, 8 years before. That was like, because the Aaron Ross, every day I'm hustling was probably like that was your early BMX.
Pretty much.
Where like, that didn't even exist yet. Like I remember when, two things, YouTube being brand new, like a new thing that like, right. I remember like, I could be wrong, maybe, but I think Scotty Kramer had this video where he did like, a flat wall, like wall ride, like whip off, like no bank, no nothing. And like,
I remember
that video. He was doing double whip taps. And like,
yeah.
I feel like that was like, I'd be curious, what's the first like successful web video? But I feel like that might've been the first successful web video, like BMX related.
Right.
I'd be, I wonder who else competed.
Interesting.
I would put money that at the time that had the most views. Like there probably didn't even have analytics at that time, but like,
you know what video
was it? Like was it a Felt Bikes video? Scotty Kramer?
Yes.
Felt
Bikes. That makes sense.
I don't know, man. We're probably talking 2006, 2000, between 2005 and 2007, I would say.
Yeah. How did it transition from VHSs to
Quick
online
Quick.
to YouTube videos?
Yeah.
Do you remember this? If you used to type in BMX on YouTube, Max Vincent's
Oh yeah.
federal section would always be like the first video to come up,
Yeah.
and it had like 1 million views
No
before
way,
like any
early.
BMX video.
Yeah.
Just a random video part that would always come up when you type in BMX.
Yeah, man.
And went viral.
I remember Max Vincent, dude, like Lataz contest back in the day. Were you there? You know the clip?
Yeah. I remember talking to him and like just being starstruck, thinking.
What did he do? What did he do on that big wall? It was like was it a whip to ice? No.
Or ice, maybe just ice pick on that giant sub or
something
ice
crazy.
bar, bar ice, or
I don't know. I remember
toothpick.
that. I remember that same contest, and I don't know if you remember this. Taz had like the 2-foot spine to the 6-foot spine.
Loved that feature. The
remember,
Pepsi Pro-Am.
Yeah, dude. I remember flipping from the little side into the big side and like nose casing. Do you remember that? Do you remember that?
Wow. Maybe. It was like a shotgun spine, right?
Shotgun
like double
spine.
coping.
And like just like I don't know why, because I liked flipping little spines. And I remember flipping from the little to the big with no, like maybe a lot of confidence, but no skill. And like just like making it through. Like,
damn.
So funny, man.
I think they had a box jump set up in the middle of the park for that contest, right? Is that the one where they set up the box jump?
Yeah, I think they started setting the box jumps up like kind of in the later years, but I definitely went to a few of those.
That was kind of the peak of the Pepsi Pro-Am, and that's kind of like us competing almost.
To be honest, that's such an insane skate park, and I don't know much about it, but like I feel like the government has something involved, or
the government funds that skate park. Quebec is really big on funding.
Yeah, and they got
cool
the Vans Park downtown Montreal too, and like they set it up like I think like you can do like snowboarding down in the wintertime, and like they have a little spot for that, like free to the public. Maybe we don't have anything like that, man.
They reallocated that like half pipe thing at the stadium, like they picked that thing up and moved it somewhere else so that people could keep
like
riding
the epic street spot. No way.
Yeah, like Quebec just does all sorts of stuff like that where they actually put money into doing cool shit for the sport. Yeah. Like Brett Reeder just just filmed a video in Quebec for 15 days, and the Quebec government like put a good amount of funding towards it.
No way.
Yeah, like just because they're trying to promote to get people out to Quebec instead of go to BC, because everyone just goes to BC.
It's true, but Quebec's pretty awesome.
Dude,
like
Quebec is mad underrated.
Nothing like a trip to Mount Tremblant, whether it's summer or winter. Like, you know, what an awesome place. Like the snowboarding there. Like, I mean, I get it. Like the BC, you can't touch it. But like if you live in Ontario and you can make your way up there, like pretty epic.
I feel like the thing with mountains is anything under like 2,000 or 3,000 feet is just not good enough. But as soon as you're at like 3,000 or 4,000, the run is more than long enough. So it's like mountains that are 10,000 feet. It's like that's more than big enough.
Yeah, like if you haven't snowboarded in a while and you have to take a break down the hill, maybe 2 breaks, like you know you're at the right place.
Right.
Like I went to Revelstoke a few years ago for the first time, and like I had been to Whistler before too, but like there was just like that Revelstoke vibe of like, you know, you're taking the gondola up, you get off, you're taking the next gondola up, you get off, you snowboard down like a little like 500-meter stretch, and then now you take the chairlift up or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And now you're at the very top, and all the trees are folded over and frozen.
And the
like,
Alpine.
It's like it does not. That's the best place for like anything winter related. Like if you can make it up there, like I mean,
there's always powder.
So good.
It's insane.
So you like to like snowmobile, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, can you get your snowmobile that high up a hill? Yeah.
The Alpine is like where the goods are.
Yeah,
like,
I've never snowmobiled, but for me, like I really enjoy snowboarding, and that would be something I'd like to continue doing. You know, once a year, twice a year.
Just getting to the bottom of a mountain and being like, all right, like I'll happily sit in a gondola for half an hour. Like that was
Yeah.
so much riding that I'm kind of exhausted and could use a break. Where in Ontario, you get to the bottom and you're like, I barely scratched the itch. Like if I could,
Man, I'm pretty sure like Blue Mountain, you can start at like the furthest end of the hill, and like there's a way that you can cut across, right? Like I'm sure you've done that before, right? And you can make it back to, I think at the time it was like the Coors Light lift or whatever, and like you can count literally like, I mean, Blue Mountain is amazing. It's so great that we have something like that, but like, you could count how long it takes to get down.
right. It's 1,000 feet. At the end of the day, it's 1,000 feet tall. So it's just not enough to work with. Like even we went to Bromont last year to go mountain biking.
Yeah.
It's maybe like 2,000 or 3,000 feet.
Yeah.
Not that tall, but tall enough, you know, where you can get a full run.
Yeah, don't say not that tall, because like, anybody in Ontario, like, anything over, you can go to the garbage dump and have the time of your life.
All of our hills are made of garbage.
So true.
But then you get to BC or some bigger mountains that are like 10,000 feet of elevation. And it's like, holy fuck. Like that, like Mount Washington on Vancouver Island. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it takes like half an hour just to drive up to the resort. You drive
crazy.
up the mountains just to get to the base of the resort.
Yeah.
Where in Ontario, it's like you got to maximize every foot you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty crazy that we don't really have too much. So kind of like completely sidebar conversation, but related to hills and mountains. So in the last couple of years, like I've gotten pretty passionate about mountain bike riding, and there's like a local organization in Windsor. It's called WebC, Windsor Essex Bike Community, and like this group of people just like loves riding, believes in riding, wants to promote it and growing. It's kind of like dying down in Windsor. I feel like maybe it's booming, but like even like BMX, like it just pretty much doesn't even exist. Like there's no good places to ride. You don't see too many kids. But this organization just like kind of crowdfunded and like got like township approval to basically build like kind of like a little mountain bike park, like a cross country track that's flat, and then 3 downhill trails that again are pretty it's not the craziest elevation, but it's like it's pretty impressive that they did something like this. Like
And you're part of it. You're so kind of a big part of that group now.
I wouldn't say I'm a big part. Like there's 4 directors, and they're like the head of it. I'm kind of just like more or less like an ambassador. Like I have a pretty insane job, so I can only invest so much time into stuff like that. But like the head guy just put in so much work to create these like trails in my hometown. So pretty awesome.
How did that start? Did it start from him just being like, there's no trails around here, let's start a group?
Man, he has a very interesting story. Like he's like, have you ever met someone where you're like, oh man, I'd hire this guy?
Definitely.
Like, hardworking, driven, motivated. So, I think, when we met, we kind of clicked right away. And he just like loves biking, dude. It's
Sick.
so awesome. Yeah.
Cross country guy?
Yeah, cross country guy, but like probably open-minded to, whatever we have in Windsor, he'd want to ride.
Dope.
So anyways, the Windsor Essex Bike Community, they raised like, they didn't want to implicate the taxpayers' dollar in the town. So they raised all this money to build these trails. They hired like a company that built the Hydro Cut in Guelph to come in and like bench all these like hills. And when I say hills, it's like they built this big arena, and all the dirt that was like from the construction is like the hill. So like the hill isn't that big, but like you got berms and jumps and this and that. And it's like, it's pretty cool. So, basically I was there the other night, and like there was like 12 to 15 kids just shredding like on mountain bikes, like one kid on a BMX, and like it's pretty cool to see that like community building again. And
nice.
And I think we were talking about elevation and is how I got to this topic, but like the elevation of this hill is so small, but it's still a place that you can have so much fun at.
Right.
So, you ride what you got, right?
Yeah, you make do.
Yeah.
That's inspirational for sure. And you got to do what you got to do. It's cool that you guys have something to scratch the itch. Hopefully it scratches the itch.
Yeah. My itch down living in Windsor is a difficult itch to scratch because like I just want to hit like a nice quarter pipe. So like it's so funny. We have like quite a few skate parks. Like each town has a skate park.
More popping up too right now.
Kind of. And there's this one, like it's an older skate park downtown Windsor, Atkinson Skate Park.
Prefab?
Prefab.
Oh, yeah.
And out of everywhere that I could ride in Windsor, so there's like a 6-foot quarter pipe, and then it kind of tapers down to 4 feet. You've seen these prefab quarters.
Before, I've ridden that park.
So the 4-foot section is 6 feet tall, and like the only thing I want to ride in Essex County is a 4-foot wide, 6-foot quarter pipe, and that's it, man. That's it. That's all. That's the only thing that kind of gets the juices, like BMX wise, right? So I think that's why I got into mountain biking is because it's just like a new challenge and like pretty fun. Like you can just like go out and rip and hit some jumps or hit whatever. Like we got a couple, quite a few places that we can go to and have some fun. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's nice to diversify. BMX is sweet, but doing just BMX it's cool too. But when you realize how many more avenues to bike riding there are and how fun so many of them are, if you don't indulge in some of them, you're kind of just missing out, Yeah,
and it's funny. So I think like, during the days of like the young BMX days, it was BMX or nothing. And like, I feel like a lot of people kind of got into mountain biking maybe early. You came from mountain biking, so you always seen that. But for me, it was like, only BMX, and that's the only option.
Right.
And then like, obviously I get this mountain bike. I did all my research. I like, pretty pumped on like the purchase and yeah, it's just, I 100% ride that way more than the BMX now. Like it's just so much fun.
The whole culture of it is a little different too. It's more like, everyone, you can link up with a bunch of people who work every day and they're going mountain biking after work as well. Yeah. And they have families and responsibilities and they're not like,
it's like you hang out at a skate park and you see the same skate park type stuff, right? And then like exactly what you say, like, one of the spots in Windsor, like it's pretty common between 4:30 and 5 that there's always going to be someone out there riding. And it's like no offense to BMX, but like, surrounding yourself with like maybe more successful people or like, that kind of mindset is sometimes good every once in a while, right? Like There's only so much like skate park shit that you can like, you've been around it. Like
you hang out with BMXers too much, you'll go the other way.
Yeah.
You'll start thinking, there's BMX can a lot, not everyone, but there is a lot of like mentality of just kind of being cheap and leechy, and it's a strange thing. Like in mountain biking, it seems like it's more of maybe a middle to upper class thing. So like if you come across like kids on a mountain bike, like they're probably from a good family, so they're just like nice kids, true, like they can buy themselves lunch. And then you go BMXing and like these kids don't have a penny and their bikes are shit. Like their bikes are messed up and they can't.
I think that depends though, because you got both of those. Like,
I guess like when I lived in California, I didn't realize how
poverty
common that was, and so many BMX kids that just like their parents can't even buy them like a bike part.
Like think about this, like we came from riding Joyride, where think about that membership fee, and like every kid that had the bikes, like I can think of like certain kids back in the day that like had the red profile hubs, but for no reason wanted to do the blue profile hub color swap.
That's some high end shit.
I know you know some of those.
Oh yeah,
remember some of those guys.
I mean, like I was lucky too. Like I come from a good family where like back in the day, I wasn't like my parents could buy me a good bike and could get me a joyride membership.
Yeah.
So to me, yeah, like the joyride, like Suburbia is normal.
Yeah.
Where like I'd say for most of BMX,
No,
it's not that way, especially
case,
when you go to Mexico or the States and foreign countries. Like a lot of BMX kids are, they just do it because they love it, but they ain't got money. Some of them do. But anyways, yeah, financials.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what the first time I saw you was?
First time you saw me, dang, give me that one. I'm curious. I could guess, but man, either like Rail City or Industry or the Warehouse, one or the other.
Okay, the first time I remember seeing you was the Warehouse.
The Warehouse.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you were 24.
I was 24 at
24.
the time.
Could be wrong. Could have been 28.
What was I doing at the Warehouse?
I think you were flaring. I think you did like a backflip, maybe a flare. Basically, I thought you were like the pro dude. I was like, oh, there's like a pro in town. Like this pro rider's like coming to the Warehouse. And
so let's touch back on that a little bit because like, just to kind of have a cool conversation. So, like after high school, I did like kind of like computer design job, went to like a little college in Windsor and like got a certificate or some crap. I don't even know, but it's not like nothing. It was all 2-dimensional, like completely irrelevant stuff at like to today's time. Mm-hmm. So, I had a like kind of a pretty cool job right off the gate. Like I remember being like a young kid and I had a friend, Evan, and his dad, worked for CN Rail, and Evan moved, I guess, to up to Toronto to kind of get a job like doing like more like of the track maintenance stuff. Mm-hmm. And this is a guy I BMX with actually, like growing up, like which is really cool. And like he lined it up where like I had an interview and I somehow got like a job interview for CN Rail to do this like computer design job. So in 2007 BMX, like Toronto BMX Jam. It might have been the first Toronto BMX Jam. I feel like 2006 was the last Metro Jam, or 2005, 2006. And then 2007 was the first Toronto BMX Jam.
Right.
Like no graffiti, the core wall, like remember the Warehouse? That like slant wall, I think that was at that Toronto Jam.
Okay.
I remember, I think I drove up with 2 guys from Detroit, like, and we drove up to the Toronto Jam and left them in the car.
Were you friends with JG at the time? Because I remember riding the mountain bike course with him that year.
Oh yeah, like me and Justin were friends, like, since like kid being like little 14, 15 years old. He was a couple years younger, but kind of like, just those Windsor homies. But I had a job interview for like this CN Rail job. And I remember driving up to Toronto, putting like nice clothes on, doing an interview, then going to the Toronto BMX Jam after that. And I ended up getting the job working for CN Rail. So that's like why I moved up to Toronto. But when I moved up to Toronto, I didn't know a single person in the city, and I moved up alone. I had a bachelor apartment on like Queen and Bathurst, or Queen and Niagara actually. And I remember at the time it was $800 a month, and like the parking spot was another $100 a month. And I actually left my vehicle in Windsor, and just like, this is like the early Toronto, like me getting there. And, dude, I didn't really know anybody. So I would just like ride around the city, and I had a map in my little apartment with like pins on it or whatever. And like, I tried to find like those, those like classic spots.
Like Wallace, maybe?
No,
Wallace
this is Wallace I stumbled upon, but this was like, the curved wall ride downtown, that metal curved wall ride. Like, dude, out of anything I rode like in the early days, like, that was like the spot. Like, there's a crowd of people, you're on the other side of the road, Blue Jays game just got out, and you just ripped the curve wall ride. Like, totally. I love that, is my shit. But I think that's gone now. That sucks, eh? It's been gone
it is
for a
gone.
long time.
Shout out to Silva. He gets a shout out every podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, in 2007, in the early like Toronto days or whatever, I remember like just cruising around the city, whatever, and then eventually stumbling upon Wallace, dude, which is where the Toronto BMX Jam ramps went in the summertime. And then that led into like, yeah, meeting like Silva and like Jamie Burke at the time. And like dude, Jamie was so sick, like toothpick stalls and like I thought he was like the best rider. I think, remember when I first met him, like just like, I guess like
540 disaster,
the park style that he had. Like, I think he was like an incredible rider.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually an even crazier story. So like, let's rewind a second. So when I got the job with my buddy's dad, my friend, like we rented this basement, or like didn't even rent, like I stayed for free in this random basement in Stouffville, Ontario. And I remember meeting Dave Fitzpatrick, was the first Toronto BMX rider that I met at the time at the
crazy.
Yeah. So anyways, finally stumble upon like Wallace Emerson or whatever. And, again, I don't even think I was like, I think I wasn't even really that good at that. Like, still, like I could tail whip, backflip, and bar spin, and like maybe hot whips pretty early or something like that. But I remember like, yeah, just getting into somehow that like crew of dudes and like riding with like the original like Wallace crew, I guess. And then randomly one day, like, I don't remember if it was like, I think it was Jamie who invited me to the warehouse, and I had no idea it even existed. And it was like the first warehouse, like time I remember we took the subway there. I'm pretty sure that's who it was, but I don't remember everything the best. But yeah, dude, I remember going there and like, yeah, seeing Dave Fitzpatrick there, Ian there, Zach there. I do remember you and your brother there on mountain bikes. I swear, like I can have a clear vision of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a crazy place.
John Marks, backflipping up the step up. That was one of the first backflips I ever saw, I think, on a bike was so John Marks up that step up.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Some good history there.
Yeah, man, seeing like Moxley, like that was probably where I would have I feel like I would have known these guys from like, the contests and whatever, but like, yeah, like that was where I kind of got to get to know some of them. But, man, I got to take a leak. Can we do that?
Yeah. Well, actually I got to get going too. It's been an hour and 5 minutes here. So
damn, hour and 5 minutes.
I mean, we could also continue later.
Maybe to be continued?
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.